Hello, everyone. Welcome to I don't know what I read in month is this? March. Yes, March. I slowed down on reading a little bit because I was sick for the majority of the month. In fact, basically all of the month. I'm still a little sick. I have a little bit of a cough still. It's been 4 weeks. I don't think it was COVID because it did not seem as extreme as COVID. I literally had a fever for 24 hours. I didn't have like a runny nose or a stuffy nose or anything like that. It was pretty empty actually, but all of my sinuses were packed with disgusting mucus. Let me just tell you that. Gross. And some of it is still in there. So like I still have that, which is gross. I know this is so TMI. But I'm just letting you know. And so sometimes that will cause me to cough a little bit still. I don't know how to get rid of it. I've been resting, I've been drinking, I've been hydrating, I've been taking medication, vitamins, etc. It's still here. I don't know what it is, but there's no fever, there's no like shivers or headache or any other symptoms. It's literally just my nose occasionally still has something in it, and occasionally I will have a cough, like if I laugh too much or whatever. You'll hear it in some of my videos on my gaming channel, which is Coffee Witch Mushra. This one is Cozy Witch Mushra. So just replace the cozy with coffee, and that's my gaming channel. You'll hear me in some of those videos occasionally cough or clear my throat like that because I can feel a cough coming on sometimes. Anyways, so yeah, I was sick for like the majority of this month, not feeling super hot. So I didn't read as much, but I still did read. The Spite House was a pretty chonky book for me. Because I've been reading like maybe books that are like 250 pages or smaller, right? Lately, trying to build up my bookageness. Um I'm going to be reading, well, I'm currently reading one book that is more than 300 pages, and then I'm going to be reading another one after that that's like 400 pages, and I'm like, whew. But they're both supposed to be, excuse me, really good. Anyways, so I started out with The Spite House, which was very disappointing. I have been searching for good haunted house books for a really long time. And obviously, what constitutes a good haunted house book is going to be different for everyone. For me, it needs to have things going bump in the night. There needs to be spooky, scary events happening, right? Last month, if you watched my video for last month, I think, um, I had read one that was like paranormal investigators, essentially. Was that last month or the month before? Whatever. One of those months. I forget what that book was called right now, too. Anyways, so that one I was expecting to be good, but like there wasn't really any spooky, scary things going bump in the night. It was just kind of like very flatline in terms of spookiness and scariness, and then you would have a jump up, a blip, like a jump scare kind of a scene, and then it would be flatline again for the rest of it. And I'm like, no, 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 no. We need, if it's gonna be a good spooky haunted house, there needs to be a creeping up of events. You know what I mean? It needs to like, there can be like weird things that maybe don't seem super weird yet, and then suddenly it's revealed, oh, that thing is actually kind of weird, and you're like, oh my god. Or maybe there are some weird things that are pointed out first, but it turns out those weird looking things are totally normal, and it's actually this thing over here that's weird. Like, I don't know. Currently I am reading Gallows Hill by Darcy Coates, and I am enjoying the hell out of that one. I'm only like 70 pages in, but I'm enjoying the hell out of that one because already 70 pages in, there's a lot of spooky, creepy, bump in the night type things happening. And I'm like, yes, yes, finally, this is what I want. So I'll review that one later because I haven't even, that's one of the ones that's like 350 pages. So it's going to take me a while to get through it. Anyways, so The Spite House. Very disappointing haunted house book, in my opinion. There were some spooky, scary things that happened, and one other thing I really hate with horror, because I can agree with it, but I think there needs to be a balance with it. When nothing is explained, it's not interesting to me. There needs to be some explanation for things to actually be scary, because if it just makes no sense to me at all, then I don't care, and it's not scary. You gotta give me something. You gotta latch something spooky things are happening, it needs to be latched in reality in some way. You know what I mean? For it to be scary. Because if it's just like spooky things happening, no explanation, the end, I'm like, okay, so what was that about? Huh? That's what this did. That's also what that last book I was talking about did too. It was like, ooh, spooky thing, woo, the end. And I'm like, what was the point? What was the cause? What was happening? What are you trying to tell me? So I'll read to you my little review that I left on what is this, Fable? Because I use that instead of Goodreads. I don't know if it's any better necessarily, but I just don't use Goodreads as much anymore. I still have my account, I just don't post on it. Anyways, what I wrote, I gave it 2.5 stars, by the way. I really feel like this book is trying to say something specifically about spite, but I'm not entirely sure what it is. Anyway, pretty middle of the road story for me. I enjoyed the story and the characters, but I also felt like it could have been a little creepier, a little clearer, and a little shorter. It was very long, it dragged on. I do keep going into haunted house books expecting to be scared when I should be looking for what the house is a symbol for or metaphor of instead. So that's on me. Not a bad book, but didn't love it either. It was interesting, but by the end I was a bit confused. Again, it could just be me. I read this while nursing a week-long cold, so it's hard to say. So I did read that while I was already sick. So maybe that was part of the reason why I didn't like it. However, I will say, after letting it like sit for a bit, I would probably give it I'd probably give it like 2 stars, maybe 1.5. I don't think it was just me. I think it was kind of rough. A lot of like I really loved the premise. I loved a lot of the characters. I loved the premise of it, but it just fell so flat. It felt like they were building towards a bunch of stuff. There were some creepy things happening, like I said. A lot of it was just exposition though. Like just people talking about things rather than things actually happening. And then when something would happen, like there's this house, the Spite House, which is on land, right? And like across from it is this place that used to be a house that was turned into an orphanage. And there's a spooky ghost moment that happens in the orphanage where there's this ghost that shows up. This isn't really a spoiler, but there's this ghost that shows up that says, "Tell him to leave us alone." And she keeps saying that over and over again. I have no idea who that was. I don't know who that was as a ghost. I don't know who the heck she's really talking about. Which he is she talking about in terms of that? Because, like, I won't get too into it, but the he that I think she's talking about really doesn't do anything. Like, he built this house in spite of them. That's why it's called the Spite House, because it's supposed to block out their sunshine. That's why he built it. But, like, he doesn't really antagonize them that I've saw in there. He just kind of exists in the house and stares at them sometimes, but that's it. So I'm like, I'm confused. Why is this person saying, "Tell him to leave us alone," when he's not actually doing anything to antagonize you? Like, I'm confused about that. So there's like moments like that where I'm like, who was that? What was that about exactly? Why did that happen? Why is the orphanage haunted when it should just be the Spite House? So why is the orphanage also haunted? Because there is something with the Spite House that's going on. Why did that happen with the Spite? How did that come to be? I won't spoil what the thing is that came to be, but like, it's kind of alive, I guess, the house, but I don't understand what caused that to happen or what made that happen. You can assume spite, right? But like, that's where I'm like, I think it's trying to say something about spite, this house, and this book, but like, I don't understand what they're trying to convey to me, the reader. I don't understand what the point of it was. Also, the ending was like a little confusing and strange and a little sad, I think, but I don't really understand what was happening. There was like too many threads that they left unweaved, unknotted. You know what I mean? There were too many little threads that like they would unfurl a little thread from the tapestry of this entire story, but then they would just leave it hanging out there. And so by the end of this story, it's like, okay, there's a little tapestry of a story here, but there's a bunch of threads still hanging off. And nothing really feels complete or done. Meanwhile, this book is really, really long, and there's a lot of nothing happening in it. So The Spite House, unfortunately, was a huge disappointment because I had heard really good things about it. But I did not enjoy this book, really. The whole time I was listening to it, I actually fell asleep listening to it at one point because, yeah, I listened to the audiobook. I like the narrator, too. The guy that reads it, he did a really good job. But, yeah, this book was a huge disappointment, unfortunately. It didn't really go anywhere. I didn't really understand a lot of what was happening. Again, it very well could still just be me, but, like, a lot of what I was seeing from one of the ghosts was not necessarily spite, right? Like, when I think of spite, I do think of antagonism. I think of active, right? This guy was very passive. I don't fully get... I don't know. I'm a little confused with some things still, and if you've read The Spite House and you can lay it out for me in a much clearer way, feel free to. If you don't want to, you don't have to. But I just didn't understand what this book was about or what it was trying to tell me or why certain things happened and why certain things were, like, introduced and then left hanging, because that happened a lot in this book. And why did it take forever to get to the end? A lot of nothing was happening. Anyways, so it did have some kind of spooky moments, but this was very disappointing in terms of a haunted house book. I wouldn't recommend it. Maeve Fly, also wouldn't recommend this, however... I think I am not the intended audience for this book. I will say that. So I gave it a 2 stars, and I'll read you my review that I left also. I think this book is not for me. If you enjoy splatterpunk and shock factor type of horror, you'll probably like this book, but it did nothing for me. It wasn't enjoyable to read, and there were also some plot threads that weren't tied up at the end, which is true. It was also fairly predictable. I still have some questions as well concerning certain characters. The ending felt a bit rushed for me, as well as... sorry. I'm reading on tiny text. The ending felt a bit rushed for me as well, while the rest of the book felt very slow in terms of pacing. The writing itself is good, but the story was so-so. I think I was expecting something different than what it was too, but was ultimately disappointed with the outcome rather than excited by it. I really just felt like it was the usual sex and gore type of horror that does nothing for me except make me go ew occasionally, which is very true. So and the whole thing is, it's like they keep comparing it to American Psycho. But I gotta be honest, I'm not super familiar with that, but I'm pretty sure American Psycho was a commentary on the state of the world and capitalism and all that kind of stuff, was it not? I mean, I could be very wrong, but isn't that what it was, right? So Maeve Fly, I don't know exactly what it was trying to commentate on. You could say, I guess, that it has some commentary on the whole female characters needing trauma as a reason for why they turn into monsters thing, except they don't really lean into that very much. They do bring it up early on in one of the chapters where Maeve herself, because it's in first person, is like, I didn't need trauma to become a monster. I was just kind of born one, or like whatever, because she already has these tendencies. And I'm like, okay, so then your options are trauma turns you into a monster, or you are born a freaking psychopath. And that's it, which to me is not really a lot of commentary on, or like commentary against the trope of having trauma turn you into a monster. Do you know what I mean? Because it feels very binary at that point. And so for me, I'm like, well, if those are the only 2 options, then what are you really saying with this? So I don't know. You know, I was kind of like, with this the whole time. I think I was expecting like slasher. I was definitely expecting more of a slasher type of book with maybe a bit of gore, but it was literally just her internal monologue with certain things, and like it was a very shock factory kind of book. Like, for instance, it's gonna get gross, so if you don't want to hear about this next part, skip the next like 30 seconds. There's a part where she's talking about sticking eggs in her butthole and how it's really hard to do when they're raw because they keep breaking from the pressure, and she can't figure it out. And then this guy that she meets eventually is like, you soft boil them. That's how you do it. And then they do it. And I would, though, like, when that happened, I was like, what the fuck am I reading? What the fuck is this? What is this? What? So, anyways, yes. It was a very strange book that had a lot of weird things in it that do not do anything for me, and again made me just kind of go like, ew, why are you thinking about sticking eggs in your asshole? What the fuck? What? Some of the deaths are really, oh my god, it's very gory. It's not like, it's towards the end, because it's a little spoiler, but it's towards the end when she loses her shit. Funny enough, it is kind of trauma based how she loses her shit. A little bit, because she loses some very important things in her life, and like, it's not the most traumatic thing, but losing important things in your life can be very traumatic. So I think it's interesting that on the back of this book it says that it has like a commentary against characters becoming monsters because of trauma, but that's the very thing that causes her to break and start committing the acts that she's been wanting to do this whole time anyways. I just think it's funny. So not very good commentary in my opinion on that. And if there's any other commentary for any other worldly things happening in the world in here, I can't talk. In this book, I could not parse them out. It really just seemed like someone enjoying writing about weird shit and gore and sex. That was like what this book was. So did not enjoy it. But towards the end, yeah, there's like 4 actually really, really brutal, violent deaths that made me go like, oh my god, disgusting. One of them, thankfully, they did not show. But yeah, she like killed an entire band in a really disgusting way. I hated it. I didn't like it. I did not need to know all of the details. No, thank you. Anyways, yes, so I did finish it, even though I knew, like, after about an hour of reading it, I was like, I fear this is a splatterpunk book. I think I misunderstood what this book exactly was about, because I wouldn't take American Psycho as being splatterpunk. So when everyone was comparing it to American Psycho, the book, I did not foretell splatterpunk. Do you know what I mean? That's kind of why I was kind of expecting something different. A little more slasher, a little more commentary, and this was not that. So, like I said, it's not for me. It's not badly written, it's well written, but it did nothing for me because splatterpunk is just a genre that I'm not particularly interested in. No thank you. So, yeah, not for me, but if you enjoy splatterpunk, if you enjoy gore, if you enjoy a lot of, like, weird sex in your book, this is for you. But it's not for me. Not at all. Anyways, the next book I read was Strange Pictures by Uketsu. Gotta say, Uketsu, 100% of the time so far, is super successful. I love their books. They're so good. These are so good. And they're really short. These are like 200 pages or less. They're very, very quick and easy to read. So good! I noticed I'm not telling you guys about the plot of any of these things, really. I guess I can go backwards for a second. A dad and his 2 daughters are on the run from something, but they don't say what until later on, so I'm not going to say what. He takes a job in a newspaper listing to basically stay in the Spite House and just monitor what happens, right? Because the person who posted the job listing is like, the house is haunted, I just need you to observe and note. And that's all you need to do. And that's what happens for the most part, but it's only like across 2 nights. So there's not a lot of stuff that happens, which is why I'm like, it's not a ton of spooky scaries that happen in this book. There's kind of a ghost that comes up and goes like, boo, I exist. And they're like, oh my god, this house really is haunted. And that was that. But anyways, that's the premise of this one, so feel free to read it if you like. Maeve Fly. How do I describe? It is in Anaheim. It's in LA County. She works at Disneyland. They don't specifically say it's Disneyland, but based on all of the descriptors, it's Disneyland. She's a Disney princess at Disneyland, specifically Anna, or Anna, whatever, from Frozen. Elsa? Wait, Anna or Elsa? Which one is it? The white-haired one. I've only seen the movie, like, twice? I don't know. It's not one of my favorite movies. Um, the one with the magic powers. She plays that one. Anyways, she has a friend who also works with her there and is just as crazy as she is, kind of, but not as crazy as in murdery, but crazy as in like they enjoy random sexual encounters with strangers and sticking things up their butts and all that kind of stuff. You know what I mean? So they enjoy that together. Not like together, but like they both enjoy those things and they both are like, hell yeah, girl, get it. You know what I mean? So, anyways, her friend's brother comes into town. He moves there and she gets close to him. Her grandmother is also dying, and her grandmother is very similar to her in a lot of ways. And also a movie star, a previous movie star, but she's dying. And stuff happens. And Maeve loses her shit at some point and kills a bunch of people, and the book ends. I won't spoil who dies or what happens exactly, but that's essentially what the premise of this book is. And then we have Strange Pictures. I read Strange Houses. I don't know if I reviewed that one at all, did I? Probably not. Let me see, actually, real fast. What books have I read? Because I think I read Strange Houses last year? Let me see. Finished. When did I finish that one? Yeah, September I finished Strange. Okay, so Strange Houses is really good. I very much enjoyed it. Strange Pictures is also really good. So Strange Houses is same thing. It's like a 200-ish page book. Really easy to read. There's a lot of pictures in both of these. More pictures, strangely enough, in Strange Houses. There's way more pictures in Strange Houses than there are in Strange Pictures. But, in Strange Houses, it starts out with a layout, a floor plan layout of a house that is very strange, and these two people talking about the strangeness of it and coming up with theories as to what is strange about it and why exactly that strangeness within it exists. And it kind of tumbleweeds into, like, it grows into this big mystery and involves someone else, and there's like a murder plot, so it is very mystery-esque, these books. So Strange Houses, really, really good, highly recommend. Strange Pictures, fantastic. I loved it. In some ways it's better than Strange Houses, and in some ways it's not. Like, at the very beginning, you have that house of the woman on the left. It deals with that picture and some other pictures that go with it. It's very strange because it is two people talking about this. It starts out with like a blog that has these pictures on there, and the blog ends by saying, like, to the one I love the most, I understand why you did what you did. I can never forgive you, but I love you. This is the end, or whatever. And then they never post on that blog ever again. And so these two people find this blog and they start discussing the pictures and what could he possibly mean with his last post. And so they start, like, doing some digging and talking about things. But, like, some of the theories that one of the dudes comes up with at the very beginning seem very far-fetched in terms of what evidence is actually there. It ends up being correct, I will say that, but it's very strange because I was reading it and I was like, how the hell did you get to that conclusion? Where did that come from? What evidence, what are you seeing in here that I'm not seeing? I don't understand how you came to that conclusion. That doesn't make any sense, how you came to that conclusion, but he was very observant, I suppose, and correct. Anyways, so there's the picture in the very beginning, which is that bird with the tree, and there's more to that picture. That's just part of it, as like a prologue. And then there's the character who did the blog. There's like a teacher who got murdered. There's some other stuff happening. So there's all these pictures, and it starts out kind of rough, but the way that it connects is so good. Let me read you my review, though. The beginning is a bit rough, as one character has ideas about pictures based on absolutely nothing. They see these pictures online and come up with some conclusions that really are a stretch. However, after that first part of the book, it starts getting really interesting. Overall, I like how the story is told. It feels a bit less interactive than Strange Houses. And towards the end, it doesn't really have much to do with pictures at all, and the pictures themselves aren't very strange, so it's narratively odd that the characters get so caught up in them. But ultimately, the story is amazing. The end is fantastic in the way that it pulls everything together. It really is a book that builds the narrative as it goes. So it feels a bit slow at the start, but once things start to become clear, it gets really thrilling. It's also a very quick read. You can finish it in a few hours. Highly recommend. I gave that one a 4.5 stars because, like I said, the beginning's a little rough, so not perfect, but it's a really well-written story. I really like the mystery in this one more than in Strange Houses. I think overall, Strange Houses, the way that it gives you everything is a bit more cohesive and it makes a lot more sense, right? It's a bit, I don't know how else to describe it, but like the way that it feels is a bit more like a straight line. I don't know, it makes sense. It's all very like, yes. Strange Houses. Strange Pictures is a very it's kind of flat at the very beginning and then it very quickly ramps up, right? So it's a little bit less of a straight line because some of the stuff, like, it doesn't really make sense why these characters are getting stuck on these particular pictures, right? Like, the strange thing about that picture in the top right corner is that smudge, which to me, that's not strange. I don't fully understand why that's strange. Even narratively, it doesn't make sense why they consider that to be strange. But it does, and that strangeness that other people are seeing in it causes it to uncover some things, I guess. Excuse me, that are related to multiple murders. Fun. Really good mystery. Oh my god, the story is so good. Like, I highly recommend this one. I think I would recommend this one more than Strange Houses, but they're both really fantastic. You could take your pick of either one, read them both in the same day, it doesn't really matter. Uketsu's awesome, love them. Anyways, yes. So this one, highly recommend. But those were, excuse me, I'm so sorry. Those were all of the books that I read this month. Because I have been still a bit sick. I've also, in March, I also, on my other channel, played through Resident Evil 9 twice, and Fatal Frame 4, or Fatal Frame 2 twice, because I was sick. So while I was sick, I just replayed Resi 9, and I played Fatal Frame 2 for the remake, the first time, and then when I was done being too sick, I recorded it. But like I said, I'm gonna be coughing a little bit in that one, I think. Sorry. I really can't help it. It's just my body's coughing right now. Anyways, yes. And then I did, because I'm going into games now, but I had such a struggle with the Fatal Frame 2 remake's combat system that I just needed to double check that I wasn't gaslighting myself in how different it was. So I booted up Fatal Frame 4, and I'm gonna beat it today because I'm literally in the lighthouse. I'm in the last bit. So I played Fatal Frame 4 throughout March as well. January, February, March. Yes, March. I always get March and May confused. Anyways, thank you so much for coming to my TED Talk, my book TED Talk. These are the books that I read. So, in review, The Spite House, maybe like a 2 stars. I wouldn't recommend it, but you could read it if you want. Mavefly, if you like splatterpunk, you'll like it. If you don't, you won't like it. Strange Pictures, I think a lot of people will love no matter what. It's a really, really good story. It's very well told for the most part. It's very interesting. And it's very thrilling. It's very, very thrilling. And the connections that are made, I'm just like, oh my god. Like, and it has a great ending. Like, it's just so good. Highly recommend this one. Anyways, thank you so much for coming to this video. If you want to check out my gaming channel, which I have had for years and I post a lot on, I'm currently playing through, I think, Golden Sun still on Sundays. Sundays I do an RPG game, so right now I'm going through Golden Sun, and then Golden Sun 2 is going to be next. Wednesdays are like long form games. So yeah, and then on Mondays and Fridays, if I feel like it, I post other games, because there's a lot of games I've been wanting to play that I have been putting off, and this year I'm like, I'm just gonna play all the games that I want to play, whatever. So anyways, yeah, check that out, Coffee Witch Mushra, if you want. If not, you can just hang out on this channel. I post rarely, but I'm trying to post more book things. Anyways, I'm done ranting. Thank you so much for joining. I hope you guys have a great day, and I'll see you in the future. Bye!